Thank you for giving me the opportunity of sharing my views and experience with you. So it's great. My name is Mariano Blaya Andreu, and I am part of the International Data Spaces Association. My job title, and I will go through it later, is Director of Delivery and PMO. So I think my professional motivation comes from three angles, I would say. One, I think, is the international environment. That is something since the very beginning of my professional career I always liked. I think in my first job I actually started working internationally. I always liked to understand how things are done elsewhere and understanding difference, not only about countries but also about cultures. So the multicultural environment is something that really motivates me. I would say that the second part is the motivation, also linked to how things are done elsewhere. The second part is the innovation. So I like the innovation, but not only in technology. I think it's very important to innovate in the technology part, but I believe that innovation can be tackled in your day-to-day. So how you go through your emails, so how you interact with your colleagues, how you are teaming with your project team members, so how you are doing your everyday job, I think is something you need to innovate. Somebody said that if you want to see different results, don't do the same all the time. To see different results, you need to change, you need to innovate. And probably the third pillar or the third angle is the social impact. I believe I'm focusing technology since the very beginning of my career, and what I learned over the years is that technology by itself is meaningless. The technology needs a purpose, and without that purpose, the technology, well, it's not worth it. The technology needs to be steered and driven and to reach a purpose, and that purpose to me is to have a social impact. I believe that the technology has to have a positive social impact. And I was lucky enough that less than 2 years ago I found IDSA, and IDSA is fulfilling all these angles and all the things that are motivating me. So I was lucky. My role in IDSA is being the Director of Delivery and PMO, and it makes sense, and I think it makes sense to step back a little bit, because the data spaces were, let's say, invented 10 years ago, but for many years the data spaces were in the academia and in the research area. But now, recently, just maybe a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, the data spaces moved to the next phase, and that phase is more the implementations. And in that phase, on the phase of implementation, people with my background and my expertise are required. As I said, my focus has been all the way in delivery and operations. So that is what I am doing as part of IDSA as Director of Delivery and PMO. Besides that, besides looking at the delivery plan and doing the PMO, Project Management Officer, around 60% of my time is allocated to the DSSC project, Data Spaces Support Center, where I lead one of the work packages among some other tasks. And well, the collaboration and contribution to DSSC is a win-win situation for IDSA. We bring from IDSA our knowledge and our experience, but also we benefit from the stakeholders of the DSSC and from all the assets. Beside that, I'm part of the DATAMITE project, where I'm contributing at the beginning of the DATAMITE project. I led the preparation of what we call the state of the art, involving the data spaces and the building blocks. Also using the knowledge coming from IDSA, but also from DSSC. They are preparing, or we are preparing in the DSSC, something we call the blueprint, and as part of this is the building blocks. So it was instrumental the knowledge I brought from DSSC to prepare the deliverable in DATAMITE. Nowadays, I'm focused more on something that is, more related to the interaction. So how DATAMITE can benefit and can interact with DSSC, but not only DSSC, but other data spaces, initiatives and projects. And that, the last part that I am contributing is to connect DataMite to the ecosystem. We need to build an ecosystem around the DataMite so different stakeholders and participants can take advantage of the DataMite framework. DataMite framework is going to become a very relevant project for the data spaces, and not only for the data spaces, but for connecting to the European Union portals and data markets. I think the timing is perfect. At the moment, we have on one side, DSSC is a long project, but is providing the foundation for many other data spaces initiatives to build data spaces. My perception and my thought on this is the European data spaces will build what I call the backbone of the data spaces. But then we'll have many participants willing to join and willing to get onboarded on those data spaces. And I believe DataMite framework is going to play a critical role on that, helping the participants from the different aspects, from the quality point of view, from the monetization point of view, and from the connectivity. The DataMite framework is going to easy the onboarding and the connection of different, especially in the sectors like tourism, mobility, smart cities, where the granularity of the participants is very deep. So you have, owners of one hotel or two hotels, and they have data, and they want that data to be part of the tourism data space, as an example. How are they going to do? They don't really have a strong IT department. DataMite framework is going to provide them a way of, not having to have a heavy lifting in terms of, as I said, the quality, monetization, and connectivity. The timing is very good. I started that DSSC is going to provide stable version of the blueprint, the building blocks, so there will be a common way of developing data spaces, and that is going to help the evolution and the improvement on data spaces. As well, as part of the DSSC, we are going to launch and make available a toolbox. The toolbox is going to be a list of implementations that can be used and will be curated by DSSC, so you have some kind of confidence that implementation is aligned with the DSSC. Another part that is very important is the simple project, simple without the E at the end. And that simple project is going to provide infrastructure and components that will easy as well the development of the data spaces. The other part that is going to happen in the next, let's say, 18 months, 20 months, is that the European data spaces funded by the European Union are going to be in the implementation phase. Being at the implementation phase require, as I said, DataMite will be the bridge and will fill in a gap for onboarding small businesses or even big businesses without a deep knowledge of the quality, monetization, and connectivity. So I think DataMite comes at perfect time and is aligned with the whole European Union strategy in terms of data spaces and connectivity.